Well, hello, everybody. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Wherever you are in the beautiful world, I hope you're having a happy Friday. Yay, the weekend's here. I must say, in my situation, it doesn't really matter whether it's weekend or week or whatever. It's kind of one and the same thing. But I got to say, the weekend does kind of feel different, doesn't it? So, happy Friday, Joanne. Wonderful to have you here. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Very busy at the moment, but keeps us all out of trouble.
And hello to our usual beautiful suspects in the chat room: Charmaine, Dragonfly, Lisa D. Those are the ones I'm seeing right now. Good to have you all here. Thank you for joining us. It's always fabulous to have you guys here connecting with us on these amazing conversations we have. So, wow, I mean, I just think it's incredible, what the stuff that we've been talking about so far, Joanne. I mean, I'm wondering, do you maybe just want to, before we go ahead, and I know we're talking really about the power of healing with the JOEYS and other animals, setting up boundaries, because it's so important to be able to have boundaries. I would imagine that when you were young and a child, and obviously born into this disgusting situation, you didn't even know that you could say no. You didn't even know that you had a voice. You didn't even know that no was an option for you, right?
Right. I was always told my biggest problem is I think.
Right. Wow.
That was it. So thinking was a problem, so we didn't get to realize or understand that we could stop anything happening to us. We were there, we were born to be what they decided. That is what we were told. And the biggest problem is Joanne would think for herself.
Wow.
And that wasn't allowed at all.
You had to be their little marionette.
Basically, yes. Like a
So
puppet.
they said and you did.
And to feel and to be real, to be ridiculed. I think I've mentioned before, I learnt that washing your hands after the toilet is hygiene. I learnt that at school sometime during my schooling. And I'd go and wash my hands afterwards and they'd stand there and ridicule me. But I'd still wash my hands,
Wow.
and tease, you're better than everyone else. Look at her doing that and like washing her hands. And it's something I'd learned. I was so pleased.
Well, I mean, that is insane, actually, to ridicule a child for washing their hands after they've been to the toilet. I mean, that is like really ridiculous. I mean, that is quite insane, actually.
Well, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, you don't do that. Anyway, no, you
What
don't.
happens? I mean, like, let's talk about if you did say no. I mean, let me just ask you first, though, did you ever say no to anything that they asked you to do or demanded you do or something? And
I
if
did.
so, what were the consequences?
Well, I know how far when they grab your arms and they can bend them up. Like, I'll put the sequence there, up behind, right up your back. I know how far mine can go, and I didn't get away. No. But it didn't stop me. I don't know, maybe it's not that I hated myself, it was I needed to stand up, it was wrong. And the more I knew it, the more I knew. My mother gave me a what is it called, photo album when my children were young. And on it, it said, to put photos in, it said, the more I know, the more I need to know. And that's been me from the beginning. When I learn something, I need to learn it, learn everything, so that there's a big picture that's being filled in, because only then do I understand it, and in my mind's eye, I can see it. So that's the way
Yes.
I've been. But growing up in this environment was it wasn't a downfall, I shouldn't call it that because it's not. It was, well, it got me into situations and,
Into
abuse.
trouble, basically, because you were being a little bit feisty and spicy. You weren't supposed to be answering anyone back, right?
That's right. Even when we took my father to court, and I will explain and go through that another time we're talking, his lawyer said that I was always a troublemaker from a child, and all I was doing was trying to make trouble. Why? Because I said no, and said, no, that girl's not here for you to take and
Was
abuse.
the
And
lawyer part of this disgusting gang? Wow. So you weren't going to get much. You weren't going to get much justice from that side, were you?
No, when we go into the court system over here in Australia or Western Australia and exactly what happened, it's going to astound everyone. See, I say this. He went up on 19 charges. Now, the jury of our peers, because it went to jury in the Supreme Court, decided to find him guilty on the first charge and the last charge. Every other in between, he probably didn't do it. Now, you explain. I'm sorry, Chantelle, I'm not saying you.
Yeah.
Do you understand? How can a jury say, yes, the first one he did, yes, the last one he did, but everything in the middle didn't happen? That is not justice. And it's all decided before we sit in that court by
May
our
I ask you,
lawyers.
when did this court case take place? This must have been obviously after you were out of school and adults already.
Yes, it was in 1995, and the court case started 6 weeks after I delivered my daughter.
Okay, may I ask you what made you decide to go to court, to take him to court? What was the decision that actually got you going, going to?
Yep. I went and visited my paternal grandparents, my mum's mother and father, because I was pregnant, and we went there and had dinner, and we were staying at my brother that I lost. And we went out to my nana's for dinner. And when I was there, one of my oldest younger brother and his wife turned up and said to Tony and I that my father had raped his wife only just recently, and they needed something done because the man will never stop.
Right.
And I was about to give birth. It wasn't like anything. It was just horrible. And my sister had been contacted by my brother and his wife, and she was quite happy to support it. I knew I had to support it. I wanted to anyway, but I knew the timing was disgusting. I was about to have a baby, my second. Anyway, next thing, I had detectives. It was Detective Sergeant Vidovich, and I don't have the paperwork in front of me. I cannot remember the other detective that attended here in my home. They bought portable printers. They bought everything they needed. They interviewed me. They interviewed Tony. And printed everything out. So I had a copy before they left. And then I had to wait for a phone call from the unit in Perth that
Was this the when you were laying the charges? So they actually came out to your place. So there are kind of people there. What are you saying? The detectives and stuff were actually okay. They were
yes,
trustworthy.
this Detective Vidovich was a normal man. He was normal in every way you could think of, and he was lawful. And as I said, they came to me first because of the danger of it all. They had to come to me first. Then after that, they go back to their big unit in Perth, and they'll give a date that we have to go to that unit, and formal charges are, it's all formal, it's all, we're now laying charges, and it all gets typed up. Protection was organised because they couldn't let me leave without that because they hadn't arrested him yet, and they were going to. And there was him, but there was the extension of him. And as soon as they nabbed him, everyone else would know, and we needed protection.
Right.
So that was all set up.
Right.
And that was a harrowing experience to relive and go through it and be in such descriptive detail. And it took, I don't know how long it took, maybe the whole day. But then it was done. And then we would be told, of course, exactly when they're arresting him, where other family members were. They had to be very aware so that we were aware when it all went down. And of course, we knew where the arrest was going to happen. And from there, it goes to a magistrate's court, which is a local court where he is in the town he was living when they arrested him at work. And the magistrate's court was a 1 day or 2 day. No, I think it was a 1 day. At the magistrate's court here, all the evidence is put out on display from your lawyers, and you got to in the witness stand and give evidence, and they decide whether or not it's worth to lay criminal charges to the Supreme Court or to do it from where they are, and it would go into a new session and be heard there. And they decided, and it's not called the judge, the presiding of the court, actually said, yeah, that's the one, thank you. The magistrate said that when it came to our father, all he deserved was someone to lock him up and throw away the key. It's going to the Supreme Court. So the evidence was overwhelming, and that's where we went.
So he actually spent time in jail. Once they arrested
Oh,
him, he
yes.
was in jail. Did he get out on bail or anything like that?
Yes.
Right.
Oh, yes. Because in that time, they had to get their affairs in order. They're working with their lawyer and putting their case or counter case against our case. And he has to go back into custody just before the court case, I think, because he wasn't allowed out while the court case was happening, and that was happening over days. It wasn't just a one-day court case. We were up
Sure.
there for, 7 or 8 days. So we knew that that was happening, so we knew where we were not to be, and we were being looked after and kept safe anyway. And of course, then we had our time in court, in the Supreme Court. And that's a different world all on its own, Chantelle. It is, we had to be coached how to speak, exactly how to speak, because the language is not like you and I talking now. Certain words would get a mistrial. And also, we got to see both sides giving each other deals that could be taken for the outcome. This is before we stepped into the Supreme Court.
They were already making deals.
Yes.
Both sides of the attorneys.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow, that is disgusting. I'm sorry, that is disgusting.
You hear, and like Jessie talks about, like the world's a stage and it's like a movie that's happening. Well, it really is. And that world is its own movie and its own rules, its own characters, and its own understandings and meanings of words. And they all dress up and play their part.
Yeah, it's like a whole big dress-up show in their
It
lovely
is.
little black Saturnian gowns.
Yeah.
Being very important. Wow. 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 That's crazy.
And when it was the defense lawyer, and he had a name that Page or something like that. Even the judge himself in the end said, "Are you finished, Mr. Payne?" Even the judge could see how unreasonable, dogmatic and attacking this lawyer was, saying that me or even my sister or any child at 6 was just unruly and didn't want to follow the rules.
That is absolutely horrendous. And I'm sorry, I'm not a man hater, but I want to tell you, only men can do that. If they had a woman lawyer, a woman defense attorney for him, there is no ways. I don't care how tough she is. I don't care. And especially if she would have possibly been through something like that herself, right?
Very true.
That there's no ways that she could defend him in the same way that it seems like that male attorney defended your dad. I mean, that is abominable. I am horrified to hear that. My God. So they try to make it out like it was you guys at fault and you were the troublemaker.
Gosh, absolutely. Absolutely. We were the ones that were bucking against a strict upbringing. There you go. That was one of his, just because you didn't like the strict upbringing. No, I didn't like the fact that the windows were nailed shut, that you couldn't open them and have air in the room. No, I didn't like that. I didn't like any of it. I didn't like to be left without a toilet and then think it's great, or wash my hands after a toilet because I'd learned hygiene, was so proud of myself. And and I didn't have to be on the back of a ute when they ran. You're not going to like this, Chantelle. Ran a emu down over and over and over again. To the point that day, I was screaming. All of us were there on the back of the ute. And he went close enough to a tree that literally took off the top part of my hand, and I was hospitalised. No, I didn't like the strict upbringing. Then every bit of the case was put forward to the jury and to the judge. They came back with a verdict. He was definitely guilty on the first and the last. They couldn't come to any conclusions on the 17 charges.
What was he guilty of? What would they charge him guilty of? What was he found guilty of?
As I said, I don't have my paperwork. He was found guilty of
probably something quite minor.
Hang on a minute. I do know where it is. Give me a moment.
God,
the one that they definitely did find him guilty on, and that was the last count, was a day that I was with my mother up in the sheds, because remember we grew up on farms, and we had a herd of milking goats, and I loved animals, and I went up there and I helped milk these goats because we had fresh goat's milk to drink. And I came back, my sister had been really, really upset, and I'd noticed it, and I caught him abusing her terribly, and I stood up to him that day and made him stop. And the worst part of all of it was they had to find him guilty because all three of us, my sister, myself, and even he himself, the father, could describe that room, and not one of us had it wrong. So if we all could describe that room, which we hadn't been living in for over 10 years, then what happened in that room must have been very real. And that was, I don't know if I can say it on YouTube, the R word, indecent assault, penetration of a minor, among other things. There it is. I'll give you a bit of an idea with this. Wow. Here we go. This is the actual one. Wow.
How are you?
Pardon? Oh.
No, I'm just speaking to my mom. Okay. I'll speak to you afterwards. So it was done for several counts of rape, indecent dealing, children under the age of 16, under the age of 12, under the age of 18 as well. But I'll get more in depth into that. Not quite right now because I'm not ready for it here at the moment. No. Anyway, let me get back to, they then said, this is where it gets me. I've said it a few times now.
The first and the last. The first one they said, I don't recall. I will, as I said, they're in my transcript. I need to be more prepared for that, Chantelle, at the moment. And they decided he was guilty only on those two. And do you know what he got? Have a wild guess. He was found guilty, right? He's a pedophile. And he is a
5
psychopath.
years.
He got
5
2
years.
2.5. 2.5 years.
There's no doubt in my mind that whoever was, I mean, I can't understand why the jury wouldn't have agreed that he should have been found guilty, especially if it's a Supreme Court jury.
Well,
In my mind, no doubt, whoever was involved with this court case, they were probably all part of the same gang, right?
yeah.
So that's why they wouldn't have given him a harsher sentence. You know, they probably told him, well, he had to be accountable for something. I have no doubt that they would have had conversations with him about this as well. And that, you know, it had to look. Did he actually sit for the full 2.5 years?
Yes, he did. Yes.
And what was he like? I mean, what was his demeanor when he went in and when he came out? Did he blame you? Was he heading on you? What was his demeanor?
Oh yeah, he blamed me. He blamed and hated. His favourite thing was, I'll show you. He used to sit there apparently just doing this. I'm gonna kill that bitch. I'm just gonna kill that bitch. She ruined everything. I'm gonna kill that bitch. That was his favourite pastime, and I kid you not. And then he was going to get out. I was warned. That was the Detective Vidovich. He was a wonderful detective. He really was. He, even to this day, cannot understand why he got 2.5 years. But we know why. They look after their own. They always have and always will.
Yeah, that's it. You know,
Yeah.
they had to do something with him. They had to do something with him, right?
Yeah.
So they gave him absolutely the minimal sentence. But you know, I don't know how. There's definitely that man is not well. That's not himself in his body. That's some kind of entity that's taken over that body, I'm telling you. Because to sit for 2.5 years even and not be able to understand the ramifications of your actions, even after sitting for that time. Hey, I wouldn't like to spend 5 minutes in jail. That's for sure. But I'm just wondering, you know, because usually the pedos don't have a fantastic time in jail either. So how was his jail experience? Do you know?
Yes. He was put into protective custody when he first went in. No, he was so. He was protected from the moment he went in. And then they had the goal to transfer him to a minimum security prison where he was in a unit and he was the slaughterman and he had a vehicle and it was just up the hill from where I currently and then I've always lived in the same place. And he used to go out at night.
Go out at night? Where did he go
yes,
to?
he had a vehicle. Where do you think? I was just down the, excuse me, hill. You think going to jail will go to jail?
Hang on. Let me just get this right. So he gets obviously arrested, goes to court, found guilty of 2 out of 19 charges, goes to jail for 2.5 years, gets put in protective custody, goes to a minimum security prison, has a vehicle. I don't want to say what job he was doing because I don't want to think about what those poor animals, how they must have suffered under him.
But you needed to know the truth.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I appreciate that. But, oh, God. A psychopath with a knife and a defenseless animal is nothing to even want to think about. And then he goes out at night. He gets given...
He had a ute, a white ute. Yep. And that's how it went.
What the F?
Well,
I mean, like, I've never even heard of that. What is he? Some prince? How come he got this treatment? What is he? Who is he in your community that he got this type of treatment?
Somebody very important. Too important.
And he just had to sit for, Prince of the Pedos. He had to sit for showcases, basically. He pretty much just he got that sentence for show purposes.
Yeah, because when he was in there, they got him all the art stuff because he liked to paint, and that's what he did, other than his other thing he was doing. And he was in a unit there. A unit, not a jail cell. Come and go as he pleased. It's justice? No. Terrorise and not care that there's somebody that lives down the hill that is going to go and trespass and be where he shouldn't be, who's got little tiny children. That's more fun, isn't it?
Did he stalk you?
He'd show up or drive through, drive past, anything to unnerve. It was a nightmare. He shouldn't have had, and he shouldn't have been. Yeah, I don't know. I got no words for it, even now, when I stop and think about it. I don't have words for it.
I would be so mad. I wouldn't know how I would digest that, because to go through everything that you've been through and then to have him have this sentence, it's a complete insult. It is the worst kind of, I mean, they may as well be throwing shit in your face.
Well, they did, didn't they?
Really.
They did.
It's true what he's saying. I would be more terrified during this time because he was so pissed off and clearly could do whatever he wanted.
Yes. The fear. That's the worst. And having 2 small children. Yeah. It was not fun. And one time my son came on and he said he remembered times in primary school where I was suddenly there and had to take those children straight away for their safety. Daniel said that. Because he's meant to be in prison, but guess what? He's around the school. The school.
Now, honestly, what was his position? How did he get to do that? Have you any idea what his position was, or can't you say? I'm happy to. Okay.
Sorry.
Because
no,
I respect that, because I mean, for me, that's not just a normal guy who's part of a system. This is someone who pulls strings. This is someone who obviously, but for some reason they had to make it look like he was paying the price. So someone was paid off in those juries. Some of those judges it was, you know, was
Yeah.
pulling the strings there, because that is just unfreaking believable. That is
Okay, now
unbelievable.
I'm going to add to that because one of the foster sisters had also just had a court case against him for counts of exactly the same, of, you know, he didn't just do it to one. He was found innocent on every single charge. Every single charge. Now, my aunt, my mother's sister, also was bringing charges against him. He had her put into Greylands, which is a mental institution over here. And you can imagine what they did to her.
What did he do to your aunt? Same thing.
My mother held
And
my
she
aunt down.
Sorry?
My mother held my aunt down for him. She
Oh
held
my
her own
God.
sister down and then helped put her into Greylands.
So this
Yeah.
was, your mom was doing to your sister what your sister did to you at one point. I mean, how insane is this? This is just like history repeating itself in the most depraved manner whatsoever. I mean, that is absolutely horrific. And
Yep.
oh gosh.
Here, I'm going to show you something. That is my mother.
Can see her, yeah. Wow.
You can?
Yeah.
That is my mother. But that beauty, any that's
She was,
there, was only surface. There was no beauty under that skin.
that's usually the case in these situations. You know, they're really pretty, and then there's some kind of very nasty thing that operates that body, that's for sure.
Well, very much so. And I always thought she was the most beautiful looking woman. But beauty can only be skin deep sometimes.
And
I
so your
think
aunt,
so. I think it was a human can't do. I mean, normal human cannot look at a child or a toddler or a little, you know, preschooler or little, not preschool, like primary school, and then look at them and they think and see how they can fulfill their self gratification and their wantness.
where is he? Just tell me where he is. I'll go and find him. I'll find that portal.
If you find the portal,
I know God won't mind.
oh God won't mind. He'll get mad at both of us. We both know that. It's not our job. I knew
Gosh,
that long ago.
I just can't. I just can't deal with this injustice and this absolute bullying and this abuse of power.
But that's what it is. And you got to realize too, he was in the army. He was in the tank division, I do believe. He was all a part of that. And that's another story on its own.
Okay, so that was obviously he was a part of the military, so he must have been, as you said, part of the tank division. So he must have obviously, I would imagine he would have had some type of programming done. While he was there as well. No, because this doesn't sound like a man that's got his own soul. This sounds like a soulless wonder that that is, you know, when you're listening to Jerry Marzinski's stuff, you know, that is definitely have some kind of Raphael or something that is operating that body, because it's not, that is just unbelievable. And the fact that there's no remorse, you know, one can, you know, I mean, there are lots of whistleblowers that we speak to that have come out and were forced to do horrific things, you know, but there's remorse, there's sadness, and there's, you know, and one can work with that, because from that place you can begin to heal. But when there's, you know, he's obviously so far away from showing any remorse or any sadness or any reconciliation in any way, that it makes it very hard to actually even forgive someone like that. Although, I mean, forgiveness is really about yourself. We know that. But man, oh man, when, where did you go now? There you go. I lost you for a sec. But wow, Joanne, that I'm just, wow, I'm so sorry. I don't know. You know, how does one even begin to, where's Joanne? Is it me or is it you? Guys, who are you hearing? Me or Joanne? Joanne seems to have frozen, but it could be my internet too. Okay, wait. Yeah, she's coming. There, she's coming back. So I'm going to remove you, and I'm going to add you. Hello.
Hi again. No, my computer just dropped me. Totally.
Okay, no problem.
Internet's gone.
Yeah, we have this. We know that this stuff happens when we're having these types of conversations. So, wow.
Well, I've still got my phone for backup, so I'm very sorry if it's not as clear or.
No, all good, all good. You're actually sounding good. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, because I was actually speaking when it all went black on me, and I thought, oh no. Oh, that's what I was going to say, because you were talking about this soulless and no remorse. No remorse. He's actually 88, 89, and in hospital at this moment, and whatever he is and possesses him knows that body's about to die, and he's very, very angry and very out to do the worst at this very state at the moment in our lives. That is it. I call it it because it's in him, and it's like, no, it's not like. Stop saying that, because I don't believe that. He still wants to do the maximum he can before he leaves.
To hurt you?
Yes. Oh, yes. And he's not just me. It's my sister, my cousins. What he's doing at the moment. A friend's helping him, and his name's Killer. You work it out.
Wow.
And that's all I'm saying on that. But that's where he's at now. And he's...
we're praying for you, for sure. Praying for you.
I don't feel fear, which may sound really ridiculous.
Yeah, no, it doesn't, because you know that you're in the light. And I mean, his anger will destroy him. You know, we are, you know, I mentioned on the show not too long ago, it was a week or two ago, I had this incredible dream. And God just said to me in crystal clear terms, we are bound by our own thoughts, words, and actions. And I just saw the whole thing so clear. And I saw how my hands were tied together. And in that moment, they were released, you know. And I realized what I needed to let go of in that moment. And this is why I say that with no judgment, but it really is a truth. So he probably doesn't want to die because he knows where he's going to go. And he knows what's waiting for him on the other side, right?
He does, and he's explained it. This is over the years. He knew from way back. But
I don't want his karma, that's for sure.
Oh, that's his. I don't think any of us will get any of that. That all belongs to him, and he's going to have to stand in that judgment in front of Ishmael. You know, that's for him to do. That's not for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that also gives me a lot of peace and a lot of, I'm not scared because he's bigger than my father. He really is. Earth is his footstool. I'm safe. And I actually believe it. I love that. Yeah.
Yes,
But he's not. And he knows he's not. And he hates the darkness, Chantelle. He hates the dark.
Wow.
It frightens him. And that's where he's going. And he already knows it. Yeah. I'd forgotten about that.
Dog next door are having a ball.
Yeah, good on them.
Yeah.
At least mine have been good tonight and quiet.
I was going to say, I was hoping that you could fetch your little Joeys first, but I know they're sleeping. But anyway, I mean, I just love the picture. You sent me a picture yesterday of one of the little Joeys. It was so cute, guys. He fell asleep with his head in his food bowl.
Yeah, he certainly did. He's upside down, and then he wakes up and he realises that he's that way. I'm just going into their room at the moment. They might come and say hello, quick hello to you, Chantelle. Look, what have we got here? Hello.
Oh,
there you go. That's Andy. Remember Andy? Oh, hang on. And there's Pete just
Pete.
there. Look at Pete. Oh, see how they're growing. Can you see?
They are huge.
Oh, they're saying hello. Look at that. Right to the camera.
Hello, boys. Look at their little ears.
Yep.
Oh, my goodness. They are so adorable.
So there's your bit of cuteness. How wonderful.
Oh, thank you for showing them to me and for showing me their little faces. But anyway.
They are. They're beautiful.
Wow. Joanne, all I can say to you is it's just incredible that you've been able to do what you've done. And I know when your mum left, you were able to do the forgiveness thing. And I know it obviously sounds like even with your dad, you understand that, you know. It's just amazing to see how far you've come from literally having so much craziness happen in your life. So, yeah.
And again, I forgive because Yeshua said in your heart, you need to forgive.
Yeah. Because it's not about him. You know, forgiveness doesn't mean the other person is let off the hook. It really just means that you don't choose to carry that burden anymore.
That's it, exactly.
And it's true what you say, because it is his, you know, it's his karma, and karma is really cause and effect, you know. It's what you put out is what you get back. It's that simple. And it's karma is not necessarily a bad thing. You can have very good karma as well. People just often perceive it as bad. But no, I would imagine that, yeah, he's got a lot to answer for. And I just wonder what happened, you know, for him that he took such a dark turn and such a dark road.
Well, from my understanding, what I know of his family life, his father was in the military and he was a boxer as well. And he boxed in the military. He was whatever he did. And they used to have to hide under the house when his father got the machete and put it on his gun and went looking for him. I know he had a horrible upbringing. I know he had horrible everything. He didn't have to do it and recreate it for his own children.
Yeah. There's always that choice at some point, you know, you either change it, I mean, or you continue the wound. You know, he obviously continued down the road of perpetration, which is very sad, actually. But wow.
So
I'm very glad that you are. And I think, obviously I can imagine that this is not easy for you to share. Definitely not. So thank you for that, because wow. I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, my dad was 6'6", and as I often speak about, he was known in our entire community as the gentle giant. And he had huge hands, but every animal and every child adored him. I mean, you speak to kids that are now, when I was a kid, my age, you must hear the way they speak about my father.
yeah,
They all remember him with such love and such tenderness, because that's who he was, And he was a naughty bugger, make no mistake. He was a party boy, and the woman loved him. And I mean, my mother had a rough time with him. But he was such an amazing father. And I remember, playing horse with him. All of us would climb on his back and be climbing all over him like a jungle gym, and he'd be backing us, and and I remember on a Sunday morning, it was my thing with him, we'd go out on the horses, and we would go for long rides on the horses, so it was like really, it was just and just the idea that your father is looking for you with a freaking machete is beyond me. I cannot wrap my head around that. Or that he has to, I mean, I remember if he had a bit too much to drink, he became all lovey-dovey, and then, he would be all nice. There was never aggression with us, ever, 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 ever.
And that is such a beautiful thing, because see, my father was 6'6".
Yeah, big man.
So,
wow,
very big man, but he had a very small head, and he looked small. Like, there was a time when we were at a swimming pool, and I would have been youngins were starting to annoy me, and he was in the pool, and he yelled at these young men and said, "Oi, leave her alone, that's my daughter." And they made fun of him because he had this little head sticking out of the water. And he said, "I'm going to stand up now." And he did. Those young'uns ran. They left the pool. He was a big man. He was huge, round. And there was no getting away from him because he could run. So think of your dad. Think of my dad. You had the gentle giant.
Same size, same kind of, stature. My dad didn't have a tiny head, though. He had a big head. Or a normal head for a 6 and he wear a size 12 or 13 shoe, which I think is even, I mean, in South Africa, and I don't know what it's in Australian or American sizes, but I think we are, I don't know what it is, but it's big. And just tall and strong. And I knew, boy, no one stuffed with me. My mother was the most beautiful woman in town, and everyone knew that. And my father was the tallest and definitely the most handsome.
That is so gorgeous.
So I walked around like I owned the place.
Good for you, and so you should. That's lovely. I love hearing good childhoods.
Yeah, gosh, no. That's why for me it's absolutely horrific, when you hear about these stories. But we understand that, I don't know, something happened there.
Yeah, something did.
But at the end of the day, he's still on earth, and there's still a chance that he's still going to repent and just find his soul again.
If you say so.
Let's.
Sorry, I don't believe that he ever will. No, I'm not sorry, because I don't know. So, I don't know.
No, I get it. I totally get it. I get it. Wow. But again, just, I know you've got to go. We've got to keep the show to an hour. But I just think, going back to what we were originally discussing in terms of boundaries and stuff like that. I mean, hey, that was a boundary. Put it, going for a court case. because,
Oh,
and
yeah.
just saying absolutely. So the fact, you know, the fact that you only he was out of 19, only found guilty on 2 charges. Hey, at least he was found guilty on 2. You know, the fact that you actually did that, because I mean, rest assured, there are many people that won't do that. I mean, I speak to many survivors behind the scenes. I mean, there's just no chance. Many of them won't even come on to the shows because there's still people in their family that are alive, you know, and they're too scared to even mention it and don't want to bring that, whatever it is, whatever. Everyone has their reasons, you know. For me, as you know, that's the only way we're going to start healing, is when we bring these atrocities to the fore.
Well, do you also realise, one thing that just I'm thinking of too, the sex offender registry, right? We've got that.
Yeah.
He's never been on it. Ever.
That's
And
insane. Yeah, as I say, your father must have been an important man. He obviously had some friends in high places, or he was himself in high places. Lots of strings were pulled on his behalf. Yeah. And we know the higher
I say I tried to find out why he wasn't on the sex registry, and I was basically told to back off. No more. It was not going to be discussed. And this is from authorities. I'm not talking, went to my father, because I did not.
The authorities are telling you, well, we're not answering any questions, butt off.
That's it.
Gosh, bunch of cowards. Seriously cowardly. Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. You know? It really is. It really is. The system is not justice. You know, no. So, because it's so rough in that system. That is a pedophile system.
It is. And I definitely believe that with Australia especially. I think, you know, all over our justice systems are corrupted. I think just the level of corruption is probably not the same everywhere, you know.
Probably not, no.
And I think obviously the higher you are, and the bigger the court case, whatever, you know, you're always going to get your guys that are working for the Dark Lord. But there are those who aren't as well. So I think that's our saving grace. Yeah. Joanne. Well, I want to just say thank you so much for sharing that really heart-wrenching story, because it's heart-wrenching, and I'm sure everyone will agree on that.
But I only share because it helps. I only share because it helps, and it might, well, it will touch someone or someone's to start their own healing and stop blaming themselves and being caught up in all of what is entailed in it. Yeah. Exactly.
And it's so true, because, you know, you can get so caught up in things, and you can get so confused about what's right and wrong and what's true and what's not true, you know. But wow. Yeah. And I think that is amazing. And yeah, Charmaine is saying, yeah, Joanne, your father may have been powerful and important, but just remember that you're the daughter of the Most High God, and you've shown that time and time again.
Yes, and I like him. I like him. I know he never steps on me when he puts his foot on his footstool. I'm all right. I'm in the arch, I think, of protection. That's how I see it.
Exactly. Wow. Anyway, okay, everybody. Joanna's needing to leave. She's got guests and things, so we are going to say goodbye for now, and we will see you back in 2 weeks' time again. Looking forward to that. So thank you so much, Joanne, for sharing your story. Is there anything else you'd like to say just before we end off, just in closing?
My biggest advice is, no matter what happens, keep the chin up. Don't let it drag. Always. No matter how bad.
It's true. It's true. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, everybody. God bless you all, and thank you for watching. And I will see you later. Oh, yes. At 6 o'clock my time, I have John Perkins on tonight, author of Confessions of the Economic Hitman. And we're talking about China tonight as well. China, the new economic hitman. So I'd be interested to know what he has to say about that. And so join us for that. Yeah, that's going to be a cool show as well. Cool, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful weekend. God bless you all. And I'll see you later. JOEYS.